Kathoupanishad is verse 9 of Valli 5 in my book. Meena ji, what's the page number? Verse?
Umaji, we were going to read the 8. We hadn't
Oh,
read
I completely
before we do
forgot
the
about it. You're right. I don't know why I thought. Yeah. You're right. So go back to 8. Yes. So you can tell the page number for 8.
Yes, the page number is 242.
Okay. You want to read, Meena ji?
Sure. Do you want to say anything before that, or should we just go
Oh,
ahead
yeah,
and read?
okay. So since we are reading 8, the 7 was actually not totally connected. 7 that we did was about transmigration of the Sukshma Sharira, right? Or reincarnation, what happens and all. We did all that, how yatha karma, yatha shrutam. Whatever knowledge we have, whatever action we do, accordingly we get the next birth. So that was that. And then the one that we are doing right now was it was talking about that whatever we learned in Kathoupanishad, that hey, there is that substratum which is same in all 3 states, but here it was focusing more on the dream state, and he was saying we see the dream, and the question that was brought up, whose light are we seeing the dream? That hey, the sunlight is not there, moonlight is there, room light is not there, I'm seeing everything. And then it was brought out to us that pure Brahman was in that light we are seeing, and which is immortal and all that. And then in main point it said that rest all the world, the whole world rests in it, and none can transcend it, means none can be without it. That is a primary, so that's what this verse is.
The Purusha who remains awake, shaping all sorts of objects of desires into dreams, even while we are asleep, verily that is the pure, the Brahman, and that is also called the immortal. In that rests all the worlds, and none can transcend that. This verily is that which you asked for. The waking state world of sense objects and their cognition are not possible without the presence of pure intelligence within the body. So too, we have already found that the dream world would not have been available for our experience had it not been again lit up by the very same intelligence. In the deep sleep state too, the intelligence continuously illuminates for us the idea of I do not know. Thus, pure intelligence, the self, ever remains as a witness of the 3 states. It is neither awake, nor does it ever dream, nor does it ever sleep. In its presence, the 3 different states play the relay race.
So everybody understood this, what he's saying, that he's saying there is something that sustains all the 3 states, but it is not involved in it. And like when we do it with the children, we come up with this scientific fact that for any change to happen, you need a changeless substratum. And the example is, okay, that for a river to flow, you need a river bed underneath, then the river will flow. So like that, the reason Mandukya brought these 3 things to explain Om, which is a symbol of that Brahman, is that we understand this because everybody experiences the 3 states. We all have waking hours, we all have deep sleep, and we all have dreaming. And he's saying that there is something common in all 3, that is a witness. That's who you are actually. That's what he's telling you.
In the Kathoupanishad, we have made this point amply clear with the analogy of a street lamp. The light of the street lamp illuminates everything that comes into its pool of light. It may illumine at one time a honeymooning couple singing and dancing in their newfound joy of physical companionship. At another moment, it may light up a drunken party laughing and dancing in their intoxication. And yet, at another moment, it may light up a mournful procession of a sad funeral pyre. In all three cases, the light of the street lamp is neither happy as a honeymoon couple, nor drunken as the revelers, nor sad and sorrowful as the bereaved in the funeral procession.
So here Swamiji brought even a more simpler analogy. That is saying the light that illumines the street, it's not getting affected no matter what happens on the street. That same way we are the witness, we are that consciousness, and the consciousness does not get affected. But you need consciousness for other things to happen. Because if the street was completely dark and there was no light, suppose if these things are happening in the evening, he's saying, they won't be able to do the procession. Pitch dark, you can't do it. That's what it's telling you. So another example.
Similarly, the intelligence that reigns within us illuminates for us the world of the waking state, the world of the dream state, and that of the deep sleep state, without itself ever undergoing any of these experiences.
So same thing he's just repeating in a sentence, that whatever that higher intelligence that illumines all three states, but it doesn't itself is not happening to him, anything to him.
Lord Death is now trying to point out to his disciple, Nachiketa, what the self is through a consideration and in terms of the experiences known to the student during his present existence in the world of ignorance. A schoolmaster knows that the best way to start teaching a student addition or subtraction is not by directly making the child play with the numerical figures, but to make him understand the idea of addition through familiar objects. Thus, it is very well known that a schoolmaster always takes examples from the child's own life. Supposing you have 10 mangoes, starts the master, and your friend has 5 mangoes. How many mangoes are there with both, between you and him? This question is asked by the master not for the purpose of keeping the mango accounts, but to make the child understand the greater principles of arithmetic through what is already familiar to the child. Similarly, the Upanishad text always adopt the method of raising a seeker into the highest realms by explaining to him the truth in which he is well versed at the moment of his approach to the feet of his teacher.
So he did this whole paragraph to tell us that we can only understand from our perspective what experiences we have. So he gave the example of, you want to teach a maths to a child, you teach, how many mangoes you have and all. Actually, he's not worried about kitne mango. He's just telling you a principle. Same way, they are using, Yamraji picked up this, about dream state just to bring that point because we understand what the dream state is, So that's what all is saying. And I was just thinking about other texts that we have in our scriptures. We have the Vedas, we have Bhagavad Gita, we have so many other, and then we have the Puranas. We have, Upanishads, which are part of the Veda only. At the end, there's a conversation between the teacher and disciple. And then the Puranas actually have the same principles of the Upanishad told in a story form because everybody likes juicy stories. They are just telling you through that to you. That's all it is. So because some people, like somebody sent out that information about Bhagavad Mahapuran, right? Everybody loves these Krishna Bhagwan story, Bachpan ki, but unke piche principle, wohi same Vedanta they are trying to tell you about it. So we have to just remember that. It depends on each person's understanding. Some people understand that one better. Some people like pure Vedanta. Some will, even Upanishad they have put stories a little bit. If you think about it, even Bhagavad Gita, even though it's kind of difficult to tackle on our own, but it is told in a story form only, right? that Arjun ko wo Vishad ho gaya, like he has this situation. There's a story of Arjun in here. So he's just taking that
That's
up.
true also. And the Gurukula way, or even when the student goes to the teacher, he stays with him for a while. So the teacher understands the student, how far he is, where he has to start.
Where he has to, exactly.
And the student sees how the teacher or the, is doing, what he's doing, how he's doing. So both are trying to understand each other before they start the teaching even.
So what you said was kind of interesting. Recently, I'll talk about it in then half an hour. I took some, I call it, Char Dham Yatra of Northern California. Sorry, Southern California. I'll tell you all the different places that I went to last 2 weekends. But I heard a talk on the Guru, Guru ke baare mein talk thi. So he was talking about these Upanishad time. When they were having this exchange, this really hi-fi exchange, you think that student will come to the teacher with a question. Okay, I have this question, sir. And the teacher will say, very good, that's a good question. I want you to go ponder on your own question for a whole year and then come back to me.
Yeah.
It's like your own question. You ponder upon it so much, you want it so badly, the answer, and find out everything about it. Then come to me. Imagine that. So they were not discouraging us from, but he's saying that there is a point over here. That whatever even if you are asking, you should know very well what you're asking, why you are asking, and what you want to gain out of it, and things like that. Because sometimes, people will just do question to harass somebody. Like, hey, I want to see usko aata bhi hai kya kuch ya nahi, or something like that, or I want to show my own gyan or something, We don't know the intention behind it. Sometimes it's apparent also when people do that. Argue for the sake of argument, like they say in the Western world. Not really to learn anything or to progress, but just rile things up. And Krishna Bhagavan already told that he said, Geeta is not for those kind of people. Your question has to be close to your heart and genuine, So, true.
Well, I read that they stay together in order to understand each other before they do the teaching.
Because other reason they stay together, because, there is a book in our Chinmaya mission, say every breath a teaching. Have you seen that book?
Yes.
So they said, whatever the Swamiji did, there was a teaching in that. Sometimes he'll say some casual stuff, but there's so much depth in it.
Yes.
So when they were living with the Guru in the Gurukul, the teaching was going on like 24/7. Whenever they're doing mundane stuff also, they're learning something. That's what it was. So that's why, and then also to tune with each other.
Yes,
Right?
That was the main thing.
Yeah.
That's how he could understand. I mean, the student can understand him, what he's saying.
Exactly.
What
Tuning
it
to him.
means.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No human can be unaware of the three planes of consciousness through which he daily passes, namely the waking state, the dream state, and the deep sleep state. If now a teacher approaches us and explains to us that there is one constant illuminating factor in the presence of which alone the experience of the three planes of consciousness become real and cognizable for us, it must necessarily be easy for us to feel for ourselves intuitively this factor, the eternal self.
So he's giving a logic that why he talked about it, because that's something that we can relate to, all the three states. And then sometimes, like we wonder, like even from the scientific perspective, if we look at it, when we go to sleep, when we are lying down, then slowly we reach a state where our body is non-functional, then senses are not functional, our mind is functioning, that's why we see the dream. Then mind folds also, and then we are in deep sleep, and it's like something is holding that dream deep. It's not death. We have not died or anything. We come back, But we have no knowledge of where we were, but somebody was holding us there. Even we want to look at it from that perspective, okay, the consciousness is holding us.
Since the self is not polluted by our criminal intentions, low, lusty desires, jealousies, and selfishness of our life, just as the street light is untouched by the varied scenes it comes to illuminate, the Atman, as the sole witnessing factor, is indeed ever pure. The rest of the words in the mantra stand explained by themselves to all those who have followed our detailed commentary so far.
So he's not telling you about there are other immortal and this and that. The word is there, no? He's not, because he kitna already is hammered it so much, pure and immortal and all. But the main thing he was trying to say is that pure consciousness does not get contaminated by anything. So looking at it from a spiritual perspective, we all should not get scared of our life that, oh my God, or some bad thoughts coming into us and all that. The pure consciousness is not getting affected. It doesn't mean that I should be thinking bad stuff. But, some people, when we start feeling too guilty about ourselves, this is one way to get out of it. And okay, in the material world, some up and down can happen. But that pure consciousness is always pure.
And that's what you are.
Yeah, that's what you are. And the more you think you are that, you won't even have the bad thoughts. Think about it. Then oneness will come. Like, that whole Upanishad is there, that Viju Gupsate, that word that I was talking about, that in which Upanishad is that? Ishavasya, I think. I forgot now which one. That if you see the oneness, you don't dislike anything. Or you don't find it creepy or anything in the world, or disgust. We don't have disgust for anything. Because everything comes under that. Yeah.
You can look at it as, when we find somebody who has some remote blood connection to us, we feel differently about him. So similarly, if we do Atma connection,
yes,
then we are totally connected with everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, कभी कोई मिलता है और उस same town से होता है, suddenly हमारा change हो जाता है. My God, like जैसे कोई पुराना भाई मिल गया हो, बिछड़ा हुआ suddenly. It happens. So here he's saying, look at it from the Atma perspective. Exactly. And I tell you, the people, there are, I think, 12 people who walked on the moon. Or maybe, I don't know exact number. But they said that when they came back after that, they could not relate to this world. So they have literally made a club of their own and they are discussing this. That वहाँ पर बैठ के ना उनको लगता है कि हम कितने मूर्ख हैं. That we are fighting over territories and this. कुछ भी दिखाई, एक beautiful एक jewel की जैसा अपना अर्थ दिखाई दे रही है. So my God, that's your home. Why are you fighting over race and this and religion and love is the religion according to them. So उनको ये spiritual experience होता है. Even the people who go in space you talk about, because I watch a lot of those programs I watched in the last many years. The people who go into the space station, they have a completely different view of the earth. They see there's this one atmosphere. He said that इतना delicate है हमारा atmosphere. और हम लोग क्या करते हैं उसका मतलब इतना बुरा काम करते हैं यहाँ पर कि थोड़ा profit के लिए you ruin it, you throw trash, you do that, And he's saying, if you all come and see over here, all of a sudden everybody will become spiritual. All the boundaries are going to go away and you're going to just think of humanity. You're not going to think of any differences anymore. So I think that they have this thing, that is going to become commercial, this space thing in the future. Maybe our grandchildren will be going there. So we take a vacation to Hawaii, they'll be taken to this space. फिर उनको वो spiritual experience होगा. कि खाली मजा करने के लिए नहीं गए, पर कुछ सीख के आ रहे हैं वहाँ से. It will be better. Oh my God. Yeah. In my book, there is one paragraph I can read, it just summarizing the verses 1 to 8. It's saying the Lord of the city of body is also the eminent Lord of the world. He is eternal Brahman as well as Atman. He is subject to transmigration determined by the jnana and karma of the equipments through which he expresses himself. So it's just telling you again, solidifying the theory of reincarnation, which is like the Swamiji calls it cardinal principle of Hinduism. If we don't believe in this, we will not understand Vedanta. So that's one thing. Yeah. So we have 15 minutes. So we can a little bit start with the next one and see how far we go. So what Tejo Menon ji was saying, इतना सब सुनने के बाद भी ये डाउट हमारे मन में फिर से आ सकता है कि I'm different from the other people because they cannot get into my thoughts and my thinking is different. That separation bhavna can come again. How can it be that one Atma is in everybody, right? So Shruti already knows this. So the Dharmaraj gives another great example to clear up that doubt. That's what this verse 9 is all about. So I'm going to just, the chanting is very different because it doesn't follow the same meter like this Bhagavad Gita. So Agnir yatheko bhuvanam pravishto rupam rupam pratirupo babhuva ekastatha sarva bhutantaratma rupam rupam pratirupo bahishcha. Agni is fire, yatha is just as, ekaha is one single, only one. Bhuvanam is world. So actually bhavan usko bolte ghar ko, magar yahan par uska meaning hai the whole world because Vedanta, that's how it is. Uses a word but we have to know the real meaning. World, the whole, cosmos you can tell also. Pravishtaha, having entered, pravesh karna. Rupam rupam, every form. हर एक का रूप, नाम और रूप बोलते हैं ना. Pratirupam, respective form is each one of them. You can call it prati, each one of them. Babhuva becomes, eka, one. Tatha is thus sarva bhuta antaratma, the inner self of all being. Rupam, rupam, different forms. Pratirupa again according to the forms. Bahi, bahishcha actually. Bahishcha means outside or beyond. जिसको बोलते हैं ना बाहर, उसके बाहर है. We'll see what he means. Okay, so now what he is giving the example of a fire to bring out the point. He's saying that one fire, see when we are talking about fire, now think of it the Panch Mahabhut ke angle se. That we have Panch Mahabhutas, we have Akash, Agni, Vayu, Jal, Prithvi, right? Take the example of the fire. And I'll tell you why he gave the example. So fire has entered the world because it's part of the world, in other words. So, and it has entered where? Fire is in everything, permeating everywhere. Anything can catch on fire, right? In the end, the whole earth can burn also because everything is combustible over here, no matter what it is. So he's saying that so many forms are there in the world. Because when we talk about the cosmos or the world, we cannot talk without form. It has name and form. So it is present in everything. When he said, let's see the words he uses, rupam rupam pratirupa bhahuva. It is present in everything. But at its core, it is only one thing, the fire element. Okay. Same way, exact same way, there is one Atma, Antaratma, like you're saying, the consciousness is one, which is the only one in that inner self of all being. And that has entered the whole, as though it's not even entered, but they have to use this language. And it appears different, and we will see how it appears different, like the fire appears different. So he's saying that the word ekaha is the most important one over here. Ekastatha, because he's saying that even in India when they talk about Hindu religion, immediately a lot of people will say, we have many gods. You heard this, right? And you get accused of that too. You come in the West and say, oh, yeah, you guys believe in many gods. This cannot be far from the truth. It's this one God only we believe in, just like everybody else, because truth has to be one. It just has different forms. That's all it is. So he's saying that don't forget that. So he was bringing that point. So he's saying that just like the Agni is in the entire cosmos but has different forms, the same way the consciousness appears like a different form, but it is one only. And the other word, very, very important, is the last one, Bahishcha. What it's saying is that it is, even though it is present in all upadhis, it's still transcendental. And what transcendental world meaning, there are two words that they use, eminent and transcendental. Eminent means it is very apparent. It is there. Without that, you cannot have anything. In spite of that, it is still beyond it. So there are two meanings in it, the way I look at it. One is, this cosmos is not the only thing that the consciousness has. It is a lot bigger than the cosmos. That's just a manifested form. Unmanifest maybe there is much, much beyond the cosmos. And even when it comes to cosmos, we used to call it universe, right? Uni means one universe. But now they are saying it is multiverse. I don't know if you guys have heard that. The scientists also saying that many universes are there, not just one. And in our Shastra, they've already mentioned it already. They are also trying to prove right now. So he's saying that consciousness is transcendental, free from all conditioning or upadhi, the word upadhi. So it does not matter in the world, there can be name, form, it is beyond the quality, attributes, activities, relations. All of these things, it doesn't get affected. We saw the same exact stuff in Bhagavad Gita that we were doing, right? It doesn't get affected by anything. So, and the second part, I already explained that how it is even beyond. And I think in chapter 10, he's going to talk about it, Krishna Bhagwan. That whatever you see my glories is just a very small part of me. He says that. Okay. So then the example given by Tejomayananji is one. And then when we read Swamiji's commentary, it will be another. Both are very good examples. So he said that fire ka example lo na. So he's saying कि कोई एक iron rod है. You heat that iron rod. Usko ekdam red hot bana do, and that whole rod will look like a fire only. We call it fire only. But it has taken the form of a rod. And then you take an iron ball and heat it to usko red hot bana do. Then the fire will appear as though like a ball. That's what they mean by that. Whatever form it goes, it takes that form. So he's saying that if you look at the fire in the world, when we do chapter 15, actually, it's going to come, the different forms of fire, what it is. At the elemental level, it's the same. And what it is, all the fire that you see in the world manifests differently. Like in our body also, we have fire. Some kids were asking, we don't have fire in our body. I said, how do you think that the body stays warm? We have a fire, right? Fire element, without fire element, will be gone. Bye-bye. We'll quit this world only without fire element. Because it's like, it keeps it, whatever, I don't know, 98.4 or something, whatever. Medical people will know. We have the fire element in our body. Each one has it. And then you see the fire as a jyoti. You light a little lamp, and there's a little jyoti, all controlled fire. Very small, very beautiful. We do puja with it. And then there's a wildfire out in the California is notorious for it. It's the same fire, but in a bigger form. That's all. See how name and form can be different, but it's the same fire. And he's saying that you take the modern example of bulb. Or not bulb, forget about the bulb. Electricity is going through all the different equipment, bulb and fan and heater and air conditioning, and when the electricity goes through air conditioning, gives a cold air. When it goes through heater, it gives warm air. Fan, it gives only room temperature air. And then computer, it goes through, computer starts functioning. And he was reminding us that electricity is actually a form of fire only. Because when we say, क्या बोलते बिजली, there's a storm, electric storm. Don't we call electric storm has happened? So that's also bijli, and that is form of fire only. So he was just reminding us that we look at it, the name हमने electricity दे दिया, but actually fire का form ही है वो. And even electricity का example लो, तो it's the same electricity going through different equipments. We don't call it different electricity. Same way, go back to the Atma now. It's the same Atma, one consciousness, appears as different in different people. So that's why, and that Bahishcha word, don't forget that one, that it is, it's outside the form also, it's transcendental, not conditioned or contaminated by it. And then Tejomayananji gave this, and you will be familiar with this whole sentence. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Satchidananda Swarup, Asanga Atma, he called it. Nitya means which is all the time there. Shuddha means pure, Buddha means conscious, Mukta means free, and Satchidanand, we know that Satya Anand Swarup is the form of this. Asanga is non-attached Atma. So that's who we are. I thought he gave a beautiful sentence. So then he reminded one last thing, which was he's very funny. He said, again we will start thinking, wo Atma hai, wo electricity hai, wo same hai. Saying, nahi, Baba, he's talking about you. Come back to yourself. He always does that. He's about you. Ekdam you ko capital bana diya with quotation on it, So he's saying, I'm only here in all these forms. And he's saying, that's when he mentioned that. Suppose if I don't like somebody, and I will say, no, Bhagwan is in everybody except that person. So he's saying, you may not like him, but the same Atma is in him also. Okay? Whether you accept it or not, it's not going to change the truth. So he's saying, and the truth is that if you do see everyone in that same light or the same way, you're not going to have any rag dvesh. So the reason you are having a rag dvesh or you're thinking that Bhagwan usme nahi hai, because you don't see oneness. So you can look at it both ways. So he, Tejomayananji said, Yamraji was not satisfied with just one example. So in the next verse, he gives another one. It's very similar. He's going to give the Vayuka example, but that's what is in this verse. So it's how Bhagavad Gita and this is going together. It's a beautiful example about Agni. I mean, most of the time we don't even think electricity is Agni, but it is. Any question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything? Should we read, or maybe we should do it next time? It's already like 12:28. No comment? Everybody's smiling, so I think it's nicely falling together, right? Both the places. I think I didn't realize that, but there's a great value to do it together, reinforcing each other. Yeah.
One extreme example is this pure consciousness was the same in Ram and Ravan.
True. That's 100% right. 100% right.
Ravan's pure consciousness was covered with ego.
Yes.
So he could not see it.
And some people actually believe that Ravan knew it, but he's doing acting.
Oh.
Yeah. I think I have shared it, but for new people, I will share it. Even in the serial, they showed that some people were saying, Shri Ram, uske khud ke jo chele wele the, koi employees the, राम जी के पास जाके आए थे वो लोग, राम जी ने उनको बहुत अच्छा ट्रीट किया था, कोई like they were like spies and all that, come back and say Shri Ram, and he said Shri Ram mat bolo, and the explanation was अगर मैं श्री राम बोलूंगा ना तो मेरे मन में भी भक्ति जाग जाएगी, तो I have to pretend to be his enemy. So that's one thing. And secondly, I don't know how many people know this, but in one of the Ramayans, I don't know which one, and Miraji maybe knows about this, that at the end when he killed the Ravan, he told Lakshmanji, Lakshmanji was standing near his head. He said, "Go stand near his feet and get some knowledge from him." Because he said he was a big Pandit. Char Vedon ke gyata, and he was the greatest Shiva Bhakta and all that, and from his experience, and then he told some discourse he gave it to Lakshmanji. It was all he realized, not realized meaning he was pretending probably to realize, but hey, like whatever life I have led, don't do that. Nobody should be leading that kind of life, because in the end Bhagwan is everything. So that's why they believe that Ravan got mukti also. So somebody, किसने बोला इस फिर फर्क क्या हुआ? Well, you can choose. You want the life of Ravan where everybody's going to hate you for the eons, or you want Ramchandra ji. And then somebody also, sorry?
I saw that episode.
Oh, you said, sorry?
And the way it happened was that Lakshman was not willing to go. And then Ram forced him, you better take. So he goes there reluctantly and he stands at his head. So Ravan says, first you come in at my feet.
Oh, Ravan said it, okay.
Yeah, and then he said, before I tell you, let me tell you about myself. And then he will give the gyan to him.
Okay.
So he starts as a story, how illegally Devtas came and they wanted to steal all the gold from Lanka. And they brought Vishnu with them with the Sudarshan Chakra, which he wasn't supposed to use. And how they took the kingdom. And Kuber took the kingdom, And then they went on, and how his grandfather, the grandfather of his wife, his mother, he wanted to take revenge of them. And that's why she married a rishi.
Mm-hmm.
He was born out of that.
Yeah.
And he was trained by both his grandfather, who was a warrior, and the rishi, who the mother married,
Right.
And so he had all the knowledge and everything, and most jnani, and then he was Shiv Bhakt. So he got lot of boons, and actually Parashuram was his guru too. He went to Parashuram and he said, you have to become self-sufficient. Don't worry about following others. So it was very interesting, whole episodes, It's, I don't know if it's available on YouTube or not.
I'm sure it is. It may be available. And there was one more very interesting thing that I heard, that see if you guys relate to this. So it seems that one time, there was somebody was giving a discourse on Ramayana, and he said, everybody loves Ram, right? So there was one fellow in the audience and said, why do you say everybody loves Ram? Ravan doesn't love Ram. So he was trying to tell him, it sounds very obvious, right? Ravan doesn't love. Abhi wo Swami ne bol diya, everybody loves Ram, so he has to give an explanation now, right? Everybody loves Ram. So he said, what do everybody love? What do everybody want in life? So we said, think about it. Okay, we all want to be happy. So we think Ram is happiness. So even though this thing, Ravan thinks that he doesn't want Ram, he wants Ram only. Because Ram, what we learnt in Bhagavad Gita, right? That consciousness is happiness itself. Or is the truth, is love. That's what he's looking for. He's just looking at the wrong place. Or he doesn't know. It's come in disguise to him. So he still proved it that everybody wants Ram. Or everybody loves Ram. Whichever way you want to keep it. Everybody wants Ram, or everybody... Even Ravan wants it. He just doesn't know it. So he's still given good explanation.
But Umaji, with all the I think he had the highest knowledge of Gyan Yoga, and then also Bhakti Yoga, because he was a Shiva Bhakt. How come he could not see the self?
That's exactly why I was saying that some people actually believe that he was just pretending, because if you go back to the Puranic stories, he was Jai Vijay. There were this gatekeepers of Vishnu. They had to take the 3 times birth. Unko curse mil gaya. So then they were Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. Then there were Kans, and there was, I think, Kans and Shishupal. I'm not exact, who was the third Janma, first one was Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. Then it was Ravan and Vibhishan. And then there were two people, right? And then there were these three. So you are asking why he didn't know. There could be several, depends on who you want to accept. One is, okay, the temporary veil came over him because he chose that path of becoming his enemy. So the whole life he had to be the enemy. But he did know at the end. जब वो मर रहे थे ना रावण, he knew. That's why he gave the discourse also.
And that's why he went to uski mukti ho gayi thi.
Right. Because
also, another interesting aspect I saw, that when he worshipped Shiv, he wanted to get a boon. So Shiv said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want to be Amar, like I could never be killed." So he said no. So then he said, okay. He started naming, this person shouldn't kill me, this person. Finally, he came and said, only human beings should be able to kill me, nobody else. Because he was so confident that no human being can kill him. Oh. And that is why Vishnu had to come as Ram to kill him as human being.
Because he never thought that human being, because of those people, those who are very powerful and all those Rakshasa type of category, they thought that human ko to main ek फूंक में उड़ा दूंगा kind of thing, So इसलिए उसने लाया ही नहीं वो humans को. And monkey तो सोचा भी नहीं उसने. But Shivji himself reincarnated as Hanumanji, right? That's what the whole story says. And all these so-called monkeys were not just ordinary monkey. They were all Rishi, Muni, Devtas, all kind of characters came as to support him in his. So there are so many sub-stories. Yeah. But you know what it is, Anilji, in the end, it is the same thing. We all are consciousness playing different roles. And then somebody say, itna hangama karne ki zarurat kya hai? So it's like when we are sitting at home, don't we want to play games with our family? I mean, some families do. When I grew up, we used to play cards and some other game on the beach and cricket. And the moment you want to play a game, you have to create two teams. Right? And then you have to do these good, bad, cop and chore. I don't know how many of you played that game when you were little. So
no matter who you are playing with, you want to beat him.
There you go. So हम लोग की आदत है ये. And sports खेलने देखने जाते हैं. I mean, these Roman people at this Colosseum. आजकल कोई कम है वो. I mean, कितना हंगामा करते हैं sports के time पे. I've heard in some countries, मरने मारने पे तुलाते हैं. कोई team lose हो गई, You see this. When we went to this South America one time, I was just curious. I said, what is your religion in your country? They said, soccer.
Yeah.
Very proudly he said it. I think it was Argentina or some place, because soccer game was going on at that time. And they gave me all these jerseys and all that. I don't wear it. So that's what it is, that it just created this duality just to have a little fun, but we take it too seriously. I don't know, that makes sense. But
it does, thank you.
Okay. So let me close here and then we can take up more questions or anybody wants to share anything. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya mokshishyami ma shuchah. Oh, I did the other one, sorry. That's nice to again do that. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.